Even in the month and a half that we've been here, we have seen the mentality change the reality is there's a lot of people that either didn't care or didn't even know about the Women's World Cup. Well, now, not only do they care and know, but this Australian team has brought together this nation, as I mentioned before. And this game is not just a big game. It's a big game for a number of reasons, not the least of which is that they are playing England and all of the connections and all of the history that involves those two countries.
I've become fascinated by this. After our last pod, we did get a tweet from somebody saying, hey, you guys need to familiarize yourselves more with the dynamic between these two countries. And yeah, purely on a sporting level, they met in the 2003 Rugby World Cup final. They obviously compete in the Ashes, big cricket rivals, so there's that. But the overall history between the two countries, in one of our days off, I went to the Hyde Park Barracks, which is where the British housed the convicts that they would send to Sydney, and it's been turned into a museum now that tells you about the whole history of it. And so I did a lot of research on, obviously Australia was a colony, and then it's now part of the Commonwealth. And so, yeah, it is a complicated history that these two countries have with each other, so it is another element of this game. We're not going to get into that too much in the pregame show tomorrow. We talked about it in their production meeting today. We just felt like that would be veering too far off the beaten path, so we'll allude to it in passing, but we're going to keep it to the soccer. But yeah, it is fascinating.
It is, and England, obviously the European champs, they get to play potentially the spoilers of what is shaping up to be one of the great moments in Australian history, let alone sports history, let alone soccer history. So that's how big this game is. It's happening here in Sydney, 70,000 people. It's going to be pretty cool to see. And ultimately, what's at stake? A trip to the final. And for this host team, they have already harnessed all of this energy. But they got to do it again because they're coming off of the euphoria of the penalty kick win and going on. And now England is a very, very different type of opposition.
And Australia's coach, Tony Gustafsson, we keep checking in these press conferences for any signs of whether Sam Kerr will start or not. And he's mastered the art of saying something that sounds really juicy, and then when you take a step back, you're like, well, he didn't really say anything there.
Right. If Sam Kerr has breakfast, then the potential for her to start exists, or something like that. It's a little strange in the way that they are talking about it. But the debate rages on as to what we've seen with Sam right now, with Sam Kerr so far, and it has been in a substitute capacity. And he even admitted that they played her more in the last game than they probably anticipated or wanted to. And so do you start her and just let her go as much as she can? Because I think the general consensus is, while she could burn it and try to go 90, let alone 120, she's just not there and not ready. And so, for example, our Ari Hinks says you start her and you just let her go as long as you can, and you get the maximum that you can right from the first whistle, as opposed to someone like Carly Lloyd or someone else that would say, well, let's just hold off. And that's a really nice card to play. I mean, arguably the greatest goal scorer in the world coming off the bench. I think I am of the opinion that you hold off. And like I say, you just keep that there as long as you possibly can and see how it goes. And if it goes great, fine. England's also thinking, oh my God, not only are we losing here or things aren't going well, but we also have Sam Kerr possibly coming off the bench. Or if it doesn't go well, you have that card to play that can fundamentally change the game.